I am divine. Something I am divine. Something I am divine. I am divine. I am divine.
Hello, 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 and welcome to the Awakened Winners podcast. I am your host, Loida Love, and I'm super excited to have my guest, Amber, here. I am going to read your bio, and then I'm excited to hear some of your story, Amber. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you, Lolita, for having me.
You're very welcome. All right. So, Amber is the host of the Am Perspective podcast. And Amber Eats, and also is the content creator of Goddess Has Spoken TV on YouTube, who just happened to have cerebral palsy. You're so awesome. I can tell by your bio and your energy, and I'm excited to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So, we wanted to name our conversation Living Life Without Limitations. Can you tell me a little more about what that is for you?
What that is for me is basically just, finding yourself. And as I've grown into this, even though we're all grown, you still learn yourself. And I'm still learning myself and learning different things about myself. So, yeah, it's just growing, learning, and just living life as you please.
Yes, yes, and not and I love the thought of like not letting a diagnosis limit you or people's perception of your diagnosis limit you, right? Because that happens too, right? I know that you're new to my world, but I'm sure that you know that I have a son with Down syndrome. And one of the things that impacted me most was how people had a limited point of view on him and his life and what's possible, right? They saw me as a victim, being his mother, and him as a victim, as an individual with Down syndrome, rather than both of us are human and we can create the life that we desire, no matter the diagnosis,
Right.
which is what I see that you're doing.
Right. But I also think, to counteract what you said, society is always going to put something on you, even with me. Because I could tell you, the journey wasn't easy, because I was used to being codependent on, family. Even with living by myself, I have age that comes. So for a long time, I was very codependent. But at the age of 21, that's when I started venturing out. I started with catching the bus by myself. My mom was skeptical at first because, I'm the baby of my family. And also with having a disability, it's like, well, I don't feel comfortable with you going in this area of Bridgeport because that's where I'm from. So, it's very challenging, because society's always gonna say, well, I don't feel like you should have this. Or their thing is, especially with dating as well, they don't feel that people with disabilities can date someone who's able bodied and, you know, yes.
Yes. Yeah. So it's, having to break barriers around perceptions, but really having to be present with the fact that people are going to perceive, project negativity, and deciding what you're going to take on and if you're going to take that on, right? Like anybody can say anything about you, right? They can say, oh, you're not going to do anything because XYZ. It's up to you to decide, you know what? I'm going to make that a fact. Matter of fact, that's the truth. Rather
Right.
than, you know what? That's a whole lie.
Right. Right. No, I agree 100% with what you're saying. So
Yeah.
that's something that I've, still had to come to grips with still to this day. Because, like I said, living life without limitations comes growth, and I'm growing and learning myself every day, because I'm 30. Lord willing, I'll be 31 next month. Well, the end of next month.
Mm.
Um, so it's definitely still is a challenge because, like you said, people are gonna say what they want to say, but you have to live your life for you and not to please others, and that's something that I'm still trying to learn and grow and process as I get older.
Yes, yes. One of the things that I felt moved to do after I had my son was one, write a book. So I became an author and I always share my book. So I'm going to now. This is my book. It's called The Awakened Winners. And the subtitle is We Already Won. And I had to have my son on the cover of it, especially because I knew that many people didn't perceive him as a winner, but he is a winner too. He went on the same journey to get here that we all did. And so he's just as magnificent as we all are. But if somebody doesn't see their own magnificence, they won't be able to see the magnificence in my son. They won't be able to see the magnificence in you. So truth is that people's negative projection have little or nothing to do with us. It has everything to do with the person projecting, right? So we don't have to take their negative projections personally anymore, right? Like it's just like, okay, that person is living where in whatever space in their mind, and it doesn't have to be my reality, my truth.
Right.
And I ended up creating music with my son. There's a song it's called I Already Won, and I'll send you the links after our call. The second song is called Down Syndrome, and it's a second version of I Already Won, where my son is saying, "Don't you know I already won? I rock Down Syndrome, trisomy 21." To me, it's like the best thing ever, and people watch it and they're like so inspired and they love it. They love how much I love my son and they love how excited he is. I literally call my son Nicholas King Joy because he's always happy, right? He's a gift. He's a gift just like you are. And I'm so grateful that you're willing to share your gifts with the world.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So tell me more about what you've created, about
Well,
your shows and stuff like that.
it all started, as I told you, about 6 years ago, back 2018, going on 7. As I told you, I met this young lady, Ebony P, and we became friends. And she asked me if I would write, and from there, I started writing for her website. And then from there, as I started, she introduced me to mention um me to Miss Octavia Page. As I told you, she came up with a fashion line, Fashion No Boundaries. And from there, she wanted to do a fashion channel where, all people with different abilities would showcase fashion and talk about, the fits that we like to wear, how we would pair outfits with certain jewelry. So once I saw the buzz, what I was getting from both writing for Ebony and Fashion No Boundaries, I decided to come up with Goddess Speaks at first. And then it shortly became Goddess Has Spoken TV
Hey,
for almost 5 years ago.
that's so awesome. I love it. Goddess has spoken. And if you don't know, now you know.
In my big voice. So yeah, and then from there, about a couple of years after I did Goddess Has Spoken TV, I wanted to do a live show. And I started doing WLW on Instagram, where I would interview different women of the differently abled community. And, I just saw how people were, gravitating towards my energy, and how vivacious I was, because from a child, I loved the camera as a kid. Anytime my mom would pull out the camera, I'd be the first one to be like, cheese, cheese,
Mm,
mommy, look at me, or hey, look at me, I'm here. So I've always been that kid. I've always had a vivacious personality, and I love to talk.
mm.
So, just just doing that and just seeing how people gravitated and just loving it, because I wanted to be able to have a platform to be able to just share my story, but also to allow others to be able to do that.
I love it. I love it. You're the spark, you're the light, right? And you help spark other people. Like
Right.
and that just means you're reminding them that they're magical because you remember, right? Uh,
Yeah, and that's kind of like what, not to cut you off, sorry, but
no,
that's kind of like what, Miss Octavia and, Ebony did for me.
yes,
So, yeah.
yes, and I love that you shared that you've always had like a bubbly personality, right? Like you're just like, I'm here, like check me out, like look at I'm cute.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, that's been with me since birth. Since birth.
mhm.
Um, I was I was 29. My mom was 29 weeks. So that means, you're 6 months. She had to have an emergency C-section. I came out, breech feet first. So that's kind of like been my demeanor, like boom, I'm here, So yeah.
That's so awesome. You're so awesome. I love your energy. Um, so you have a now you're working with somebody with a clothing line, right?
Well, not anymore. But I did vlogs for that page, yes, but
Okay.
not anymore.
And you have your radio show,
The podcast, yes.
and then you have a TV program.
Not not anymore.
Okay.
So it's basically it. Amber Eats. It's a show. I mean, I'm still in front of the camera, but I wouldn't consider it like a TV show. I would just say like it's more like a food type thing, food show. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Got it, got it, got it. Well, I think you're awesome. I think you're
Thank you.
awesome. I am so excited that you came on here to share your story. I do want to give you space if you want to share anything else, if anything else comes up for you. Otherwise, if there was one thing you can leave your audience with, just like a something inspiring, what would it be?
I just want people to just realize that no matter if you have a disability, if you're able bodied, if you're elderly, you still can go after your dreams. Because I was 25 when I started this. You
Hmm.
know, I wasn't, I knew I was meant to do great things, but I didn't realize, what that might have would have been. Because I wanted to be a lawyer, and then my junior year at high school, I wanted to be a journalist. So I'm kind of living out the journalist dream, but not exactly in Channel 7. You know, that is what I want to tell you, that no matter what age you are, you still can go after your dreams. It's not too late to do anything you want to do, whether if you want to be independent, whether if you anything you want to do, you can go after it.
Yeah. And definitely don't downplay the fact that you're on channel 7, because some people wish they had a channel and they don't. You do. You have a
Yeah,
channel, girl. You have a channel. All
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Let's go. And yes, dream bigger. Like, let's have your own Amber show on. I mean, I honestly don't watch TV, so I don't know what channel is the channel now. But that your presence impacts more and more people, that you continue to live out your dreams and shine your light simply because you exist. I want to thank you again for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I can definitely say I came across you when I happened to watch Mr. Keith, because I met Mr. Keith when I was 16 years old at a
Mm,
convention. And you know, we recently reconnected because I came across him on Instagram, and I'm like, hey, I remember that guy. That's Mr. Keith.
yeah,
So watching your podcast, it was like I just gravitated to your story because listening, talking about your son Joey, it definitely.
Nicholas.
Oh, sorry, Nicholas. Sorry.
But Joy, I call him Joy, basically.
Um, just listening to you talk about him and how the way you are as a mom and how the way you're using your platform to not only show light to yourself but also to him, and dedicating everything that you do to him down to your book, it's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really the light that sparked my love, a love that I had within me, but was dim. And his presence and his life allowed me to remember my own love for myself and how important it is to love me. And then also gave me a mission and vision to break barriers around perceptions, because there's distorted perceptions around perfection, and it occurs mostly to differently abled people, but it happens to people of color also. People imagine perfection to be something that it's not, because to me perfection is what we are, and I mean that in a spiritual point of view, because from a spiritual point of view we are whole, one with God, right? And that means we're perfect. We're not separate from God. We are one. We are whole and complete. Perfection in a body. You are a whole, perfect person.
Yes, we all are in his eyes,
Yes.
for sure. And I know, just down to my birth, just down to the way that I am, with having cerebral palsy, because I was diagnosed at 3 years old. Um, just the way how I was and the things that I would, say, my family friends would just marvel at me, you know. And I'm just grateful to even just be alive and to be able to do what I do, because I never would have thought that I would be doing something like this.
Team no limits, living life without limitations.
Yes,
That's what
yes.
we're doing around here. Oh, and I did want to mention Keith. Yes, Keith was somebody that I met at a conference, and he was a public speaker at a parent conference for people that had differently abled children. And I remember seeing him and just being really blown away by his story and how his mother, really encouraged him and allowed, and really was passionate about him not seeing himself with limitations. Um, but even more so, I was really blown away by the fact that he shared so much about how people perceived him and how they treated him according to those perceptions.
Yeah.
Right. Which is why we he and I decided that the name of his conversation was gonna be Beyond the Cover, right? That we don't look at somebody outside just on the surface and decide what what their lives are or what they're capable of according to our own limitations, rather
Right.
than let's get to know this person. Let's open the book. Let's read a couple of pages. Let's get curious. Or
Right.
let's see this person as potential, because in
Right.
every human there's potential. Keith is a really amazing individual and a dear friend to me. I'm just grateful that I've met him. As you know, he creates music and he's doing a movie now, like, and he's
Mm-hmm.
a public speaker and
Mm-hmm.
breaking barriers all over the place. And so I'm just grateful to know him. I'm glad that you know him. I'm glad that you're doing similar things and that I'm doing similar things with my son and that we can together change the world.
Right. One thing about Mr. Keith, when I was 16 and we got to go backstage and meet him, and I had brought my cousin along, and, it was our turn to go up, but he looked at me and he said, you know what? You're going to do great things when you grow up. And
Mm,
I'm like, and I thought about it. I said, I know, thank you. But it's true, and I've heard that, you know, multiple times, like from family, even friends. Just like my friend Freddie, who also has cerebral palsy. The studio where I do the podcast at, he had a show there 10 years ago, and he happened to see me do a live one day, and he goes, "You got it." And I'm like, "God, what?" He's like, "Eh." Now, I don't know what it is, but clearly it was like, "You need a show at the studio. I'm gonna talk to my old boss." So
no.
when he came to me with it, I was like, "You want me?" That's kind of like how I did Ebony. Like, you want me to do what now? You want me to write in front of, and post, you're going to post my blog, and it was just like, yeah, like, why not? Like, everyone has a story to tell, so it's like, I try to be funny with it. Like, even though, yeah, you have cerebral palsy, there's always humor in the situation. So that's how I try to look at it. I try to live by that.
Mhm.
I laugh at myself. There's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you're not taking life so seriously, right?
right,
You're learning throughout the way. And how beautiful that you have so many people that believe in you, because
right,
you might have some belief in you, but somebody might add to your belief
right.
rather than to add to your limitation, right? Because we all have negative thoughts about ourselves. So
Most definitely.
right? Somebody can add to those negative thoughts, but when somebody adds to the positivity and like sparks, oh my gosh, you believe in me that much? You really
Right,
you really want me to do that? Me? Yes.
right. And
And you do it.
I doubt myself daily because, like, should I do that? Was I cut out for this? Because I remember when I started the podcast, which it'll be 2 years, August 9th. And
Mm,
I just remember, I'm like, Freddie, like, was I really cut out to do both? Like, how am I going to balance Goddess Has Spoken TV and doing a podcast and still bringing that same personality to both, but being different in both areas? Like, how? And he's just like, Amber, you got it. Just breathe. Like, you can do it. Like,
no.
he was like, I went through the same thing you went through, because he was hosting the show with a friend. But then shortly after, he had to take over by himself. He was like, "You don't think I was nervous?" And I'm like, "I don't know." I'm like, am I just, the camera's full, it's all big, but it was a beautiful experience. And like I said, I'm still growing, still learning. It's not an easy process. Like, it's a lot of things that I have to, you know, learn and grow into, but I'm grateful for, the journey that I've been through. I'm just grateful to even be here. Like I said, it'll almost be 31 years in the May, sorry. So for me to be able to do that, hopefully it will inspire others to do the same thing. Maybe even younger than 25 or 35, 40, 50, 60 years old,
Yeah. Yes. You're an inspiration.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, Amber, for being here. And yeah, I look forward to staying connected with you.
Oh
Um,
yeah, most definitely. And if you need somebody to get on a song, do an intro real quick. I don't mind.
you're the best. All right.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.